Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about a video. Loads of people have been sending me this in my inbox. Obviously, my DMs are open on Twitter. People send me stuff. I'll talk about this, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's because of the nature of the story. But ultimately, it's one that I haven't viewed as being sort of particularly of huge significance globally. But I guess we can talk about it anyway if people are interested. So I'm known as Mr. Match Fixing. Obviously, I'm the guy that's like broken lots of match fixing stories, covered match fixing extensively, all the way going back to even StarCraft, where I've reported contextually on the famous StarCraft Brood War match fixing scandal for a Western audience. It's something that, as a true believer in esports that I've always been, I always foresaw we were going to get problems with this, especially when you have this economic disparity where the athletes are paid very little, but the games that are being played are being bet on and they're generating lots and lots of money. The temptation is always going to be there. It's why it's important in the ecosystem that we look after our players. We've certainly seen, I mean, at the moment, literally at the time of recording this, there's a huge Dota match-fixing scandal about to go public. I don't know if it's out there yet, but I've had people telling me about it behind the scenes, and it's going to be fucking huge. It's such a big deal, because match-fixing never went away. It never went away. We never really got to grips with it. I've said this many, many times. By crucifying iBuyPower in Counter-Strike, and then saying, look, see, we do take it serious, and then just forgetting all about it. We've allowed match fixing to flourish in the tier 3, even the tier 2. In Dota, because of the nature of the money involved, and again, the economics of it all, how it's not necessarily... Many top team owners tell me it's not worth having a Dota team. They don't understand how you can monetize it. So if you're not on one of those top teams that do make money, then what are you going to do? Your salary's dog shit, but you've got to grind in one of the hardest esports out there. Well, guess what happens? But everyone turns a blind eye to the realities of it, and we know it's going on. How many times do we have to watch games where the results are just clear bullshit? How many times do we have to watch swings in betting patterns before questions are asked? And unfortunately, without the developers taking it seriously, the people that control the games, there's not really a lot you can do. There's not really a lot you can do. Leagues have signed up to the Esports Integrity Coalition, ESIC. You can learn more about them on my channel. I spoke at their last annual general meeting, and I'm proud to be associated with them. I think what they're trying to do is pretty good, honestly, in the context of the scene, even if they were initially set up by MTG, which some of my friends tell me is evil. But they're out there, and they're trying to make games developers aware of the problems of match fixing and how it's still going on. But no. They'd rather just put their fingers in their ears and just la 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 la, just try and pretend none of it's happening. And we're gonna get, I think we're gonna enter a second wave of big esports match fixing scandals. Certainly in Dota, that I think this first one that's gonna come out will probably be the tip of the iceberg. We're probably going to see a few in the tier 2 and CSGO, if I'm being honest. There's too much evidence out there for people to be getting away with it for much longer. You know you are. Just fucking stop it. It's not going to be worth it. And as you're about to see, we are getting to the stage now where slap on the wrist from Valve is the least of your worries. You're going to get prosecuted. Right. So, Australia. Now, it's not known as a hotbed of Counter-Strike. It should be. Great scene, great fans. Not the Dick Stacey fans so much. Great fans, though. I love the Australian guys. I love shoeies. I love their tournaments. Love their enthusiasm. I've been good friends with a lot of their players for many, many years, going all the way back to the CGS and the 1.6 days when they used to come over internationally. I had Australian players stay at my house for a prolonged period of time because it's a long fucking way to come to the UK and to Europe to compete. You may as well get your money's worth. So I got deep roots in the Australian scene. So this is another reason why this was brought to my attention. There's been a finding of serious match fixing, supposedly, in Victoria. And you can see the headline here. This is on MSN News. This is, again, it's in the mainstream. Victorian men hit with corruption charges over alleged esports match fixing. Now, this story actually goes back to 2019, but it's been brought up again because I think they've finally got a date set for the court hearing, as you'll see. But here you are. 5 men have been charged with match-fixing offences as part of the first Australian criminal investigation into esports. Way to make history, lads. Detectives from the Victorian Police Sporting Integrity Intelligence Unit charged the men last week with serious offences subject to maximum penalties of 10 years imprisonment. And indeed, yes, as it relates to soccer and Aussie rules football and rugby and snooker and other sports that indeed would involve Australian players, yeah, there is a special unit that is there designed to stop huge betting syndicates coming in and controlling outcomes, making money, violating the integrity of the sport. The problem you've got with Counter-Strike and in general esports corruption is, and I have this from the head of ESIC himself, it is fucking amateur hour. None of these people know how to cover their tracks. They think just doing it on a cash betting site will enable them to get away with it. No, not at all. They monitor everything. They have to. There's too much at stake. And unfortunately, 10 years is the maximum sentence for this, which, again, I don't want to say too much of the details of the case, but this relates to not a particularly high level of Counter-Strike. Let's put it that way. So, Assistant Commissioner Neil Patterson told 7:30 last September police believed as much as $30,000 had been won betting on the fixed matches. Now, I need you to conceive of that. $30,000 distributed between 5 people. It's not a great amount of money, but it is way more than these people will have been earning for playing Counter-Strike. And when you think about how it scales upwards, that's what they're getting from fixing the games. Who knows what other people are involved? Who knows if there are other people that maybe got away with it, or we're going to find out in the hearing or whatnot. The reality is that very, very few times is it just the players themselves that do it, because you have betting limitations on betting sites. So why not get greedy? Why not tell your family members? Why not tell your friends? So it starts to ripple outwards. Indeed, we saw that with iBuyPower. It wasn't just the iBuyPower players that placed bets. It was the Fixer, the Fixer's colleagues. There was a number of accounts in Vietnam because the guy had connections there. It was some of iBuyPower's friends and colleagues. You know, these things ripple outwards, so we'll wait and see about that. But $30,000 for this kind of heat is chump change. Chump change. I can't believe they've done it to themselves for this small amount of cash. But I guess when you're grinding away in esports, making nothing for it, it's better, obviously, way better than nothing. Anyway, it goes on to say esports is considered the fastest growing sport in the world. It is, and the Australian investigation sent reverberations throughout the industry. It didn't, despite it allegedly involved little known teams and players. The investigation started in March last year. It centered on a team playing hugely popular first-person shooter Counter-Strike in the ESEA Mountain Dew League. Oh, okay, good, it does tell you. Yes, it relates to MDL. So not a particularly high level, but not a fucking million miles away, is it? It's not an amateur tournament. Right, it's MDL. We all know that league if we follow Counter-Strike. A 20-year-old man from Mill Park in Melbourne's outer north has been charged with 2 counts of engaging in conduct that corrupts or would corrupt a betting outcome, 2 counts of using corrupt conduct information for betting purposes, and possessing cannabis. Yep, that's right. One of the guys who got raided got caught with fucking possession of weed. That's bad luck, but, you know, again, come on, dudes. Like, fucking get your shit together. 2 other 20-year-old men from Mill Park and another 20-year-old man from nearby suburb of South Morang have all been charged with 3 counts of using corrupt conduct information for betting purposes. A 27-year-old man from Sale and Victoria East has been charged with 5 counts of using corrupt conduct information for betting purposes. The men will face court in Melbourne and Sale in September. Assistant Commissioner Patterson said last year that the men allegedly involved in the fixing had gone to the same high school and university and were from normal suburban Melbourne families. We've got young men, typically 19 or 20 years old, who have no history with the police. They've allegedly been getting involved in corruption offences at quite a young age that have serious consequences for them. The sheer volume of young men involved in gambling, both in high school and in universities, is at epidemic proportions. What I'm not seeing is anyone doing anything particularly about that, maybe particularly useful. I don't know, who knows. Anyway, interest in esports, including in betting on matches, has ballooned during the global COVID-19 pandemic, which has forced traditional sports to temporarily shut down. Major sporting leagues, including the National Basketball Association in the US and Soccer's English Premier League, have even staged video game tournaments featuring professional players facing off online. In other words, here's 2 paragraphs because we got to pad out the article. Isn't the news wonderful? So this unbelievably stupid, because I did my research. I looked at you can find who these players are. I'm not going to give their names. I'm not even going to write it up in a report on Deserto or anything like that, because I don't want to prejudice the case. And when we get to September and everything's been decided upon, or we have a future date for when it will be decided upon, depending on how drawn out it is, then these guys aren't going to be anonymous. It's all going to get out once the sentencing's issued. But until then, I'm not going to say anything. But I will answer a question that people have been jabbing me in the ribs about constantly. No, it's no one big. It's no one big. You just saw there yourself. It relates to Mountain Dew League games, MDL Australia, right? And trust me, when I saw the names of the players, it wasn't even a case of going, who? And looking them up. You couldn't even look some of these people up. There's no... You just know they're playing in a league, or they're tangentially... I imagine, based on the fact they couldn't find profiles for some of them aren't even players. Some of them are just friends that were told by people who were playing we're going to throw a game. This is what I mean about maybe it spreads out. Either that, or they're so low-key, they have no online presence whatsoever. So we don't know the specific games that were thrown. I imagine that will come out too. We don't know whether this spreads out and is bigger than what it is. I imagine we'll find out. But what I will say is, it's a bad sign for the guys in question. Because you can tell there from the commissioner and what he said. He takes a very dim view of this. He's talked about young people being involved in gambling and how it's a terrible vice. Well, and he said nobody's doing anything about it. That implies they fucking might. So I remember when this story first broke and people went, oh, well, they're not going to get 10 years. They're going to get a slap on the wrist. I'm not saying they're going to get 10 years. But jail time isn't beyond the realms of fucking possibility here, guys. I mean, they're going to want to send a clear message. Remember, in the same way that the iBuyPower ban sent ripples throughout Counter-Strike, because it was the first of its kind, we're going to see something similar happen here for all of Australian esports. They're going to want to send a very clear message that, yes, we take this as seriously as we would if you were placing illegal bets and fixing games in our football leagues, in our rugby leagues. So... it doesn't bode well for these guys. Now, I'm going to follow this story. It's going to be hard because while this is going on, I'm going to be moving. But by September, I should be all resettled, relocated, and making content again. And it'll be interesting to see what the outcome is. I urge you guys to keep one eye on it too, because they're not high profile. But I think for Australian esports, the case is, I just don't think it has any sort of bigger significance than that. What it should be is a cautionary tale to all of you that if you're throwing matches, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. We're time's up for it. If you get caught, governments aren't just gonna be, oh, well, fucking video games, who gives a fuck? It's not happening like that anymore. It's too big. It's too big. And people are looking to make examples of people. I would urge anybody, especially if you're a young dude, just stop doing it. It's dishonest. It's illegal. And the penalties for it, the ramifications are going to follow you for a long, long time, like I imagine it will with these kids who are absolute, by the way, nobodies in a playing context. Don't fuck up. Anyway, hope you enjoyed me talking about that and bringing it to your attention. As always, I just want to say, we've had so much growth on the channel lately. Like, seriously, I thought when I came back to doing YouTube videos, I had no idea it would be like this at all. So I'm super grateful. With that in mind, if you do like the way I break down the news and everything else, please like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me what you think about match fixing and 10 years potentially in jail for that below. And there'll be another video coming at you tomorrow. Until then, make sure you take care of yourselves. Thanks.